A terrifying demon roared, making the ground beneath it shake from the shockwave. Humans charged in to fight, putting their lives on the light for a semblance of a chance. Working together, a small group was able to disarm one and used its own weapon to cut the monster in half, saying they shouldn't underestimate them humans. Watching it fall, the other humans regained hope. It took 3 men to kill 1 demon, meaning it isn't impossible to win fights and escape with their lives. Raising the enemy's blade, one man called everyone to join their side, unaware of the looming silhouette behind. They belatedly look back and see a club speeding toward their bodies. In an instant, 2 of the men who fought the demon have now died, demolished in one hit. The demon spoke to the human beings, who foolishly thought that they have a chance of freedom. Pointing to the dead men, it tells them to never forget that they are mere maggots compared to them. Looking at the gap in power, they can't deny the statement. At one point, hordes of demons came from the depth of the earth and turned humanity into their captives. The hope they'd just regained was lost in an instant, and they just stood silently in fear. The demon asks if there is anyone else who would dare resist their authority. If there aren't any, then he warns them against any other tricks as they're near their destination. Just then, a human tells his peers to behave if they want to survive, even starting a chant of praise. They raise their hands and proclaim servitude to their captors. Hero cursed the spineless mutt, already knowing he wouldn't have a nice end. Just then, a high-pitched voice called to him. Peach clung to him, elated and relieved that he was still alive. She barely stops herself from crying, terrified as everyone else she knows has died. Knowing how scared the girl probably is, he reassuringly hugs her, promising to stay by her side and survive together. As she melted into his arms, he looked at the demon that was split in half and got an idea after a few calculations. He holds her hand, saying there's only one way, and tells her to find the right opportunity. Already knowing his intentions, she tries to refuse, wanting to survive together. However, that's exactly the plan, as she's supposed to come out at night and ask for help in the south. Determined to save them both, he turns away to carry out his plan. He stops, pulled back by her feeble hands. Terrified, she asks about what might happen if they fail. The young man repeats his instructions, unable to answer honestly. As the human from before tried hard to convince the others to be obedient, Hero started his plan, knocking him aside with his elbow. Crashing to the ground, anger fueled the man, and he ordered the others to capture his attacker. They charged in, following his instructions for some reason, but their groups were quickly split up as the demon pounded his giant club between them. One unfortunate man wasn't able to dodge in time and got his leg crushed. Using this opening, Hero calls to the demon and frames the others for trying to escape. The man with the broken leg screams in pain, annoying the monster and earning himself a ticket to the afterlife. Subtly looking back, he looks for Peach in the crowd, hoping she understands that this was her chance. Hero escalates the diversion, raising his voice and asking for a reward as he turns the traitors in. While he already expected it, the swift kick that comes after still hurts a lot. He's sent flying across the cold, hard ground, and he smiles in satisfaction as he looks back again and sees that Peach is gone. Just then, someone called to the demon and reported that someone had gone into hiding. As a human points to the carcass of the dead monster, the captor approached, and a sense of dread slowly sets in Hero's heart. Stopping by the corpse, it leaned forward and reached into the cut. Then it pulled Peach out from inside and was surprised by the gall of the woman to hide there. Taking immediate action, it pulled her over his mouth, which was gaping open and ready to eat. The meal was interrupted as Hero came in with a flying kick, forcing the monster to let go. He catches the girl and places her on the ground, telling her to run as their time to escape has come. However, their hope doesn't last too long, as they're quickly surrounded by other demons, along with the enraged one that he just kicked. As it bared its teeth, ready to punish the rebels, Peach froze in fear and asked if they were actually going to die. Hero remembers her question from earlier, wondering what'll happen if they fail. The answer becomes clear as the demon raises its club to deliver death. Believing that they've reached their end, he hugs the girl and confesses his feelings for her. Hugging her tight, he promises to marry her if there really is an afterlife. Tearing up, they ignore the weapon speeding at them, and she reciprocates his feelings. Just then, the demon is cut in half, right before it finishes swinging. A voice calls it an emotionless idiot. Looking up, the other humans trembled in fear, while the other demons knelt in salute. Above them all was Mina, the great demon general, who found their final moment earlier amusing. Calling to Hero, she gives a devious smile and tells him to come with her and breed demons. Looking down at Hero, Mina orders him to join her, and breed the new generation of demons. He outright rejects the proposal, seething as he remembers how they kill and enslave humans. Unfortunately, he doesn't have much of a choice, as a dark hand suddenly grips his face. Barely putting in any strength, the general held him still, showing how hopeless his struggle would be. He groaned and squirmed against her grip, dangling as she lifted him into the air. Unwilling to let the demon take him, Peach clung to her body, telling her to let go. Mina gives her a sinister glare and orders the girl to get lost. The human backed away, screaming in fear as terror took over her body. The general tosses Hiro away, telling her underlings to separate them and save the male for her. Immediately following orders, Peach is taken away. As the young man is also dragged away, he promises to find a way to reunite safely. The humans who froze at the tragic sight are scolded and told to keep moving. Meanwhile, Mina looked at them with disgust, displeased with how weak they were. Their fate is unfortunate, as they've been doomed to slavery under the demons of heaven. Entering the huge skull, they're met with a deep cave filled with humans and demons. The demons wasted no time, quickly directing the set of captives to separate lines. As one human is told to go to the middle opening, he fearfully asks what the difference is. Unwilling to blindly follow, the man demands an explanation before entering. Annoyed by the commotion, the demon swung his club, going right in for the kill. However, the human is surprisingly strong and manages to break the club with one swipe of his hand. The others froze as the broken weapon fell and tumbled across the ground. Raising his hands in surrender, the man promised to work for them as long as he isn't turned into food. Hearing this, the other humans began to panic, not wanting to end up as dinner either. Just then, a commanding voice ordered them to stop. Lee, the demon slaver, tells him to quickly go to the middle, promising it isn't for food. Meeting her eyes, he's suddenly entranced and determined to obey her every command. He immediately gets in line, even encouraging the others to enter the aisle in an orderly fashion. Meanwhile, Hiro is thinking about her words, and if the middle line is not for food, what about the other two? The left side is scattered without many people, while those on the right are old and sick. He sees Peach shoved to the right and quickly realizes that she'll be treated as food. Determined to stay with her, Hiro calls to the demon lord and asks to be placed in the same line. However, his request is firmly rejected and he's quickly told to stay in his lane. Seeing the young man tossed around, Lee asks what the demon thinks he's doing. Lee asks what her underling is doing and is told that Hiro was chosen by Mina in advance. She says only she, among a select few, is allowed to choose new people, and as such will be taking him. Looking at her sweet expression, he stammers and tries to insist, but instantly finds his head knocked off his body. He falls to the ground, lifeless, punished for having the nerve to go against the woman's orders. Then turning to the young man, she orders him to come with her for now. A demon slaver cracks its whip, hitting an apologizing human who's fallen defenseless on the ground. Unable to stand the sight, Hiro jumped in to carry the boy away. As they both fell to safety, the demon looked in anger, questioning who would dare show such defiance. Lee stops him from hitting them again, saying she can't bargain with Mina without her chips. Propping himself up, Hiro asks the young human Chisa if he's okay, but he just cries out. Looking around, he sees a hellish display of obvious slavery. Addressing everyone, Lee tells everyone to complete 1,000 new buildings unless they want to die. The human slaves are shocked by the order. They nearly lose their minds, knowing full well that such a feat is simply impossible, as it's essentially torture. Some give up and ask to face death, and the slavers are more than happy to oblige. Hiro is separated from the group, saying he isn't meant to work there like the others. They travel around the hive-like cave, which echoed with the sounds of endless work. He asks what he's being brought over for. Not receiving an answer, he tries his luck and asks about those who enter the passage on the right. Feeling like he's overstepping, Lee starts to get tired of all the questions. She raises her sharp stinger and explains that he's nothing more than a bargaining chip. As such, if he says one more word, she won't hesitate to kill him. Silently looking around, he concludes that those who aren't food are turned into slaves. Regardless of where they go, no one will be able to survive for too long, so he has to rescue Peach as early as possible. That said, they aren't in a lair, but one that's about to be built and should have 1,000 more demon houses. He doesn't know why they're in such a rush, but the requirement is an opportunity for him. Disregarding the earlier warning, he shouts, prompting the stinger launch at him. However, it stops as soon as he mentions accomplishing their goals of 1,000 residences in a week. Intrigued, Lee gives him a chance and grants him a minute to convince her, keeping the stinger near his neck. Fear is something that can lead to irregular heart rhythms, weakness of limbs, and physiological disorders. With such a negative emotion, it would be impossible to work efficiently. The demonic violence and threat of death due to failure are what cause the emotion. Lee argues that she's just scaring them to speed things up, and is aware that it's an impossible task. However, improving efficiency can be brought by productivity and achieving this requires replacing threat with reward. Her stinger is brought inches away from his neck, as he implied rewarding humans with freedom. Realizing that she's different from others, and might actually kill everyone, Hiro rethinks his approach. He clarifies that, even if it is a lie, if there is hope, people will be willing to work for it. Promising increased efficiency in the long run, he begs for 2 days to prove it. She considers it for a while, and calls to someone named Swipe. He feels something zoom past him, and another demon appears by her side in the blink of an eye, answering her call. She orders it to tell Hiro about their work progress and arrange for him to implement the new policy. As they got right to work, Mina watched things unfold from above. She finds Lee foolish for trying to negotiate with humans as chips, as she can always just find a replacement. Interrupted from working, and told that it's time to collect, the slaves find the timing odd. Regardless, they lined up, rushing to follow orders as usual. There, Hiro's loud voice cut through the air, introducing himself. Standing among other demons, the human announces the new system, which offers them a shot at freedom. They cry out with hope, hearing that it's possible to escape slavery and return to the ground. Realizing that he probably negotiated with Lee, they thank and praise the newcomer. He adds that they are no longer going to be mistreated and hurt as they work. No matter what happens, the least he can do is stop people from being abused. However, there must be a more practical way to do things, and this alone won't be enough. Just then, a familiar voice dissuaded the people, telling them not to listen. It's the man from before, who then exposes him for getting his brother killed, just to save his woman. A demon threatens to kill the descender, but Hiro urges him not to, saying they had a deal. Fortunately, Swipe orders to follow the human, adding that it's a decree from Lee herself. Settling things himself, Hiro jumps down to meet the man, and says he was a lapdog willing to live with the demons. He finds it ridiculous and argues that he simply calmed the atmosphere down to avoid another conflict. Pointing to him, he encourages the young man to look at himself and asks who the lapdog really is. With anger in his eyes, he asks if he's going to get everyone killed, just as he killed his brother. Swipe blankly watches them speak about demons, as though they aren't right there. It hits Hiro that the man's words are true. He can't deny that he traded someone's life for peaches, and now he's giving everyone false hope. Everything that was said was true, and upon accepting this, he cried while apologizing, owning up to his actions. However, his tears are far from enough, and won't ever bring the dead brother back. Guilt began to set in, but Chisa from earlier suddenly put himself between them, saying Hiro saved him just that morning. Calling to the others, he says they don't have a choice either way, and must follow orders. Even if it's a shallow dream, any hope for freedom, or at least not dying after a week, is enough. Reassured that they will be free after working, the slaves are given newfound motivation, driven by the desire to live. Turning back to those he hurt, Hiro apologizes sincerely, saying he'll somehow pay for his actions. As they can't do much about it, the men stay silent and stop the aggression. With this, Swipe orders everyone to line up and receive the tasks they're meant to complete. As everyone was given specific work, the construction continued. Seeing Hiro join, Chisa says he doesn't need to cover his share, but the young man insists. Even before the demon invasion, the boy was always bullied for being weak, and he's the first to help him. He doesn't mind, as they helped each other in the end. The two got closer, opening up about the struggles they had. Meanwhile, a green demon approached a human slave. Hiro was thanked again, not just for helping with the work, but also for the shot at freedom he brought them. Just then, a loud scream echoed throughout the cave. A pickaxe was on the ground, melting from a green acid. A human backed up in fear, apologizing to a bubbling green demon. Seeing this, Hiro ran to stop them, saying they had a deal. Fortunately, Swipe also arrived in time and ordered the demon lord to stop. Angered, he complains, saying the slave hit him, but the human reasons that it was all an accident. Regardless of what happened, Lee has forbidden them from hurting humans and prioritized the construction of houses. Relief washes over them, and the young man tries to get back to work, but sees that his tool has melted from the acid. Hiro plays around with the green liquid, inspecting its characteristics. Getting an idea, he asks Swipe to make the demon lord release more of the solution. He thinks it will greatly increase the speed of their progress. Indignant, the demon scorns them for acting too arrogant. However, the White Lord orders him to keep quiet, as he leaves to ask Lee for permission. To the Green One, it's an idiotic idea, as he would die if he kept giving them acid. Unfortunately, he isn't able to do anything about it, and finds himself leaning over a large tub of acid. All worn out and shriveled, he pleads desperately, saying he doesn't even have a drop left. However, his peers refuse to take such excuses, and lift him over his head, squeezing hard to force even more acid out his body. Swipe hurries the process, telling the green demon to spit all the solution out, and calling the humans to line up and get their buckets of acid. While the humans cheered for the demon's pain, Hiro smiled, knowing it'll accelerate their progress. Considering what they're willing to do, the project seems really important to Lee. At this pace, they might finish 200 houses in a week, which might convince her to keep her promise. Meanwhile, deeper into the cave, long appendages crawled up from a tent. Inside it, a demon complains, saying nothing has changed, and that it's been a long time since a demon was born. As this might doom their race, Mina decides to ignore Lee and get the young man back. Another demon, Carbon, appeared before her, kneeling in respect for the general. He expresses distaste for humans, calling them inferior creatures who do nothing but mess with one's mind. As such, she asks who she's going to use for her goals. Saying he's nowhere near humanized enough, she considers his advice unneeded and unwanted. As he's unable to argue with her words, he accepts with a sad look on his face. While working, Swipe suddenly appeared by Hiro, saying Lee is looking for him. Given an update, she praises their progress, as well as his methods of increasing overall efficiency. Since it's all effective, she's decided to implement this in other places as well, saying they can finish in half a month with their pace. He starts to bring up the topic of a reward. She asks what he incentivized them with and laughs as she hears about his promise of release. Not getting the answer he wants, he prods for her decision. Recalling how he cares about someone in the food bank, she asks what he wants to happen. He immediately requests that Peach be protected, so she promises to have someone keep her safe. With a sweet but sly smile, she says it's a promise, similar to the one he made to the slaves. He understands that, like his own, her words are empty and will never amount to anything. As the dread sets in, he belatedly realizes that he shouldn't have told her about Peach's existence. Told that she'll consider mercy based on what they accomplish, he's sent away at once. Outside, his eyes are wide open, panicking and desperate to think of a way to save his beloved. Just then, Mina's voice called to him from above. Looking up, he sees the demon general, who asks where he's going. Recognizing her, he remembers how she personally took him in for a task. Desperate, Hiro vowed to do whatever she wanted him to, in exchange for one favor. She brims with power, delighted by his decision. Hiro is brought to a secluded part of the lair, where no other demon can disturb them. Speaking his mind, he talks about Peach, who was sent to the food area, and asks the general to save her. The girl's existence was exposed to Lee, and now he has no choice but to count on Mina. Knowing how deals work, he asks the general what she wants. She seeks knowledge on human reproduction and wants him to breed demon babies with her. Still confused, he asks to know her intentions, adding that she keeps her end of the deal first. The demon is irked by his scrupulousness, not wanting someone who's too focused on terms. While there's still too much he doesn't know about her, he's certain that she's a threat to humankind. To her confusion, he goes on about the chances of success with human babies. The young man lies, saying a certain level of love is necessary, and adds that he'll be happy to explain with Peach. However, Mina has no interest in demonstrations with other people, and tells him to teach her directly. He panics, not expecting that he'd be ordered to love a demon. It's a tempting offer, as having the general fall in love with him will bring many perks with it. With her by his side, he can save Peach, and might even be able to save the laborers. It will look like he's helping her with her mission, but is actually just using her for his benefit. Ready to teach, he asks to see her emotions. The demon goes on to show a variety of emotions, including confusion, fear, boredom, and envy. The last one, anger, shows up as she furiously demands an explanation for the purpose of the exercise. It proved that demons don't understand emotion well, likely because they don't have the environment for it. Wondering if demons can even fall in love with humans, he considers taking a more direct approach, stealing his nerves and asking Peach for forgiveness. He leaned in and kissed Mina's lips. Her eyes opened wide, surprised by the unexpected act. Hiro backed away shortly after, curious if it had any effect. However, she has no idea what he just did, even asking if he just attacked her. Hearing that it's something humans do when in love, she admits that she didn't feel anything at all. She guesses that the problem is the point of contact and encourages him to try somewhere else. The suggestion stuns him, and he isn't sure if he heard her right. Gesturing to her entire body, the demon gives him permission to try them all. He follows her orders and goes on to caress her horns first, then her arms, and soon moves on to her legs. As he does all this, he thinks about Peach and can't help but feel apologetic, even if Mina is a demon. Moreover, she has extremely humanoid features. Looking at her chest, he cautiously reaches out to try it next. However, she senses his hesitation and orders the young man to hurry up. Scolded for taking too long, Hiro apologizes for being too anxious. As he goes on about moving past physical relationships, Mina warns him against tricking her. She has a way to verify everything he says, so the general orders him to make her fall in love as soon as possible. Afraid, he asks that she not rush him, as love is a gradual process, which often takes time. As falling in love is already difficult, What more between a human and demon? Receiving her acknowledgement of the situation, he thinks about what to do next. He gets an idea and suggests sending a gift first. It's a common and necessary step before entering a relationship. She's aware of gifts, having received some herself, but doesn't understand the point. The human explains that gifts are only meaningful if given to please each other. It's a chance to learn about each other's preference and is similar to a contest of making the partner happy. Hearing that it's a competition, Mina gets all excited, saying she's never lost a competition before. As she turns away, gets started right away, he calls out, asking her to wait, and accidentally grabs onto her tail. In a rush to find him a gift, she zooms across the cave tunnels, dragging him along for the ride. Hearing his voice, she belatedly notices his presence and abruptly stops her flight. Annoyed, she asks what the problem is, and is told that they still need to talk about their preferences. Her patience is running out, thinned by the demanding and stubborn human. Hiro talks about wanting a double ponytail, but doesn't get to finish his sentence as she flies away immediately, saying she's got the perfect idea. Wondering if she'll bring Peach back as a gift, he tries to think of something new to give to the general. For now, he sets his friend aside, asking her to wait. In another part of the cave, a human woman screamed for her life. A huge demon was pulling her into its mouth, ignoring her desperate cries for mercy. Clawing on the ground, she promised to work hard and do anything they want if they just let her go. Unfortunately, all her pleas go unheard, as the woman's entire body is tossed into its mouth. In a matter of moments, the huge demon released a cue of meat to the other end of its tongue. It was like a small factory, where smaller demons collected the processed meat and stored it for later. At the ceiling of the area, countless skeletons were dangling over the assembly line. In a spot where humans were still alive, Peach looked up with a worried look. Just then, someone called to her, telling her to come near. Locked in a cage made of demon ribs, she faced a mysterious silhouette. She cautiously approached, unfamiliar with her unexpected visitor. Meanwhile, back in their secluded area of the lair, Hiro was waiting for Mina. Having found her gift, she excitedly asked if he was ready for their exchange. In a flashy start, he throws a piece of cloth away, revealing a demon skull on the ground. He then proceeded to use it like a drum, accompanying the beat with some melodic lyrics, and finally ended the show with a theatrical drumstick trick. She exclaims in surprise, although confused as to what he's doing. Asked how she likes it, the general shook her head, dissatisfied, and said he can't just do that. Showing him how it's supposed to be done, she calls something over. Following his preference for double ponytails, a demon with twin tails on her head appeared. As he screams in surprise, she says she's won, as there's nothing better than a demon who'd call him a lord. Disappointed by his reaction, Mina couldn't help but be angry. Terrified, Hiro insists that he's happy and praises her talent for gift giving. This fortunately works, as she cackles in agreement and pride. Since she really considers it a competition, things are going to be a bit more complicated. Moving on, she asks about other things humans do to fall in love, and is told that they eat and play. She wastes no time and drags him around. To his surprise, the demon gifted to him ran behind them, eager to join in. A pot of sludge and pieces of meat bubbled in front of a gagging Hiro. Looking at a skewer, he cautiously confirms that it isn't made of humans. Mina says there's no need to worry. Humans are just food reserves, and no one wants to eat them if there's actual good food around. Showing an example, she lifts a small but plump creature, which wriggled in health. He can't help but spit his food out of disgust. Back in the food area, Swipe tells everyone that no one is allowed to take Peach away without permission. As a demon guard, he promises that he won't give them a difficult time and will remember them accordingly. Hoping she's still alive when he comes back, the demon leaves as quickly as he came. She's left by her unexpected visitor, leaving the girl spooked. It's terrifying to know death is coming, but this unknown feeling is even more frightening. Tearing up and not knowing what's going to happen, she desperately calls to Hiro. Disgusted by the food, Hiro falls to the floor, gagging and barely stopping himself from vomiting. As he doesn't want to eat, Mina asks if he doesn't want to love her, prompting him to eat up. With a skewer in each hand, he gobbles down the meat, trying his best to swallow without tasting. She's delighted by the sight and laughs as she encourages him to eat more. Holding his stomach and feeling unwell, he says he has to go to the toilet. Thinking about it for a while, she says that, unlike demons who store energy, humans eat and excrete. Told that it's the reason for their weakness, he's unable to argue and he asks where the bathroom is. Since there are no toilets there, she tells him to find his own place and go. Seeing his demon following, he scolds her for even wanting to be a part of that. He finishes his business soon enough, but when he walks to return to the hut, he finds his demon dead on the floor, with its chest all burned up. As he tried to make sense of the scene, Carbon approached from behind, identifying him as Mina's favorite. Hiro tries to ask who he is, but the demon says he can only speak once he's done, saying humans will only pollute the general He orders the boy to refuse whatever she asks of him later on. He reasons that she's the one asking, not the other way around. Visibly irritated by the backtalk, Carbon repeats his instruction, telling him to refuse regardless. He finds it ridiculous that a lowly human like him dares to stay with a noble woman like their lord. Pointing to the scorched demon, he warns that he'll suffer the same fate if he doesn't follow orders. Based on the possessiveness, he realizes that the one before him is the demon who often gifts Mina. Asked for an answer, Hiro obliges, saying he will, of course, be obedient. As he turned away, the human called for him to wait. Not backing down despite the blazing glare, he extends his hand, promising to keep the entire encounter a secret. Amused, Carbon scoffs and shakes the human's hand, gripping it tight as he burns his palm. As Hiro backs away, feeling the unexpected pain, the demon smiles, calls him a good man, and leaves without another word. Left alone, the human looks at his palm, burnt as if serving as a reminder for his promise. He clenches his fist in spite of the pain, refusing to back down. He returns to the hut alone, and Mina immediately asks about the demon she gifted him. As Hiro tells her that he ordered it to return to its normal business, the general starts to get mad, as it basically disobeyed her orders. Asking her to forget it, the human tries to say something, but she gets ahead of herself and stands up excitedly. She carries him out of nowhere, saying they should go take a walk, just like other humans. Strolling around the cave, they passed by several groups of demons, most of which glared at Hiro for daring to act so casually in her presence. One brave individual raised its hand, wanting to hurt the boy. However, it loses its head in an instant, punished by the general. She does this a few more times, having come across a handful who felt the same way. Reaching an armory, Mina gestured to the weapons, telling him to give it a try. She laughs as he struggles to even lift one up, and smiles proudly as she raises it with him still clinging to the metal. Moving on, Hiro finds himself in an arena, watching as two demons duke it out, roaring, punching, and fighting, just for their amusement. While Mina watched the fight, smiling and laughing as she enjoyed the sight, the human instead watched her expressions. In that moment, he couldn't help but see a certain brightness, especially as he saw her giggling like a normal woman. On the other hand, a dark silhouette appeared in the shadows. Carbon was hiding, seething with rage as he watched the human disobey his orders and break his promise. As they've already tried a bunch of things, Hiro asks if the general is feeling a semblance of love. With a blank expression, she admits that she isn't feeling it at all. Moving on, she brings him to a tunnel, saying they can play with a training exercise she used to do. Inside, a small creature lit up as fire bubbled in its gut. Casually picking it up, the demon says it resides in fire caves and would go from one hole to another, over and over again. As it sprays fireballs, he has to dodge them until it gets too tired. Forced to step in, Hiro can't help but feel worried. Looking at the fast-moving ball of fire, he asks if this is really her idea of playing. To save Peach and the humans, Hiro has to make Mina fall in love with him. To do this, he has to play along with her games, and finds himself dodging a creature made of fire. Doing his best, he barely ducks his head in time, even impressing the demon general. He smiles in satisfaction and excitement as his body starts to get used to it. Unfortunately, overconfidence takes him out, and he gets hit hard right in the face. Sent flying away, he props himself up, blanking out and rubbing his sore cheek. A fireball is launched at him, and he notices far too late. Knowing this, Mina intercepts in time and tells him to pay attention. He already knows that she's amazing, but seeing her in action is still impressive. She smiles, brushing it off simply as the weakness of humans. While sharing a moment, the fire creatures continue to bounce around, seemingly endless. Even the general is surprised, finding it odd, as she knows that there shouldn't be this many. While he doesn't exactly see, Hiro senses someone hiding by the entrance. Looking around, he sees traces of Carbon, as scorch marks are scattered throughout the walls. As expected, the demon is right there, fuming with anger because of his brazen disobedience. They continue, and Mina floats around while watching him, saying it's a way for them to train. On her standards, she shares that he's doing well, at least for a human. Taking the chance, he attributes it to the power of love. She waves it off, saying she doesn't have feelings, as he's rightfully hit for the cheesy comment. Meanwhile, Carbon curses him and promises to kill the human, as his hate continues to grow. Well aware of his presence, Hiro thinks of a way to expose the demon's presence. For a while, their games with the fire creatures continued until Mina declared it over and done with. The young man stood tall, and she praised him for being better than she expected, especially with reflexes. Turning to thank her, he reveals his face, which was full of bumps and bruises from getting hit. He then loudly recalls how they kissed earlier, and how she didn't feel a thing. Hearing this, Carbon is absolutely incredulous, more so when the human suggests kissing again. Unable to take it anymore, he charges up with power and breaks a piece of the wall off. Deciding to get rid of him, Even if he gets exposed, he singes the rock in his hand. Drawing his arm back, he gets ready to throw. Meanwhile, Mina turns, noticing odd sounds coming from nearby. The rock is launched at them and, like with the fire creatures, Hiro proves his impressive reaction time again. He throws himself at the general, as it's the only way he can get her to dodge. They tumble across the ground. Seeing him lying on the floor, she hurriedly asks if he's okay. He says he's fine and shows her a singed fire creature, saying it must have been annoyed by their love. She starts to argue, saying she doesn't feel anything. Then the general froze upon realizing that she was filled with worry after seeing him on the ground. She finally sees the creature on his hand, along with the burn marks on its body. Her eyes narrow, getting an idea of what just happened. The human asks if she really doesn't feel anything, and is told that it just is the case. Blankly repeating her words, she adds that today was not enough, and that they need more days. Wanting to try something, she calls him over, gesturing to come close. To his surprise, she returns his kiss from earlier. Looking around, seemingly waiting for a reaction, she says they'll continue tomorrow. Later on, Hiro is in his personal hut, evaluating the day's events. He's found that demons don't understand, but they have feelings just like humans. With this, he becomes hopeful, feeling like he has a chance of making the general fall in love. Still determined to save Peach, he sets the goal of making her fall in love tomorrow. On the other hand, Mina is in her hut, scolding Carbon and transferring him to a different area. She's indignant, not understanding where he got the gall to interfere with her mission. Unable to argue any further, he accepts the punishment and walks away. She lets out an audible sigh, annoyed by his antics. When she's left alone, the cold general suddenly blushed, twirling her hair as she thought about the day. Carrying on with work as usual, a bunch of men bully Chisa, striking a fake deal to help each other. When he doesn't reply, they lay their hands on him, telling the boy to hurry up. Just then, Hiro appeared from the sky, telling them to leave his friend alone. He arrives with a bang, planting his foot directly on one of the men's faces. As they fell to the ground from the altercation, the second man screamed out in anger, ready to pick a fight. However, it doesn't go too far, as a familiar hand is placed on his shoulder. Mina has arrived with her human pet, and lifted the troublemaker into the sky. That morning, Hiro visited the general's quarters, where he was immediately told that they would be continuing with their mission. As he started speaking, she cut him off, telling him to stop addressing her so formally. Following her instructions, he requests that she get Peach out of the food area first, as he's grown worried. Quickly accepting, she tells him to focus on her, once she gets the girl out of prison. After all, he still has to teach her how to fall in love like a human. Currently, Chisa reunites with Hiro, glad to see the older boy again. Meanwhile, one of the men grabs him by the collar, demanding to know where his friend was taken. Unfortunately, even he doesn't know where the general took him. Just then, he pushes his head down as the green demon from before appeared with a punch. Following up with another strike, he sends the humans flying. Worried, Chisa cries out. Determined to take revenge, the demon vows to make him feel what he went through because of his suggestion. Just then, a finger poked into his side. As his body trembled, feeling like it was being injected with something, a voice tells him to calm down. Suddenly, his entire body grew large, invigorated from the injection. Continuing to grow, his muscles bulged, and the demon screamed in exhilaration, feeling the power. Looking much stronger than before, he says he's finally got his life back. He quickly turns around, asked how he's feeling. Realizing that it's Wesson, he suppresses his attitude and kneels down, lowering his head, saying he was injected with disfigurement. The Lord tells the demon to leave if he's satisfied. As this is very much true, he scampers away, not wanting any trouble. While the demon walked away cheering, Wesson addressed Hiro, confirming his identity. The demon dog from before chimed in, saying he's the one. Quickly understanding that the one standing before him is not normal, he tries to stay calm for now. The demon is surprised, recognizing him as Mina's boy, as well as the brain behind the new construction method. Intending to take him in, he tells one of his underlings to hand him the bindings. Recalling the first time he saw Lee, Hiro remembers hearing that the one before him is of the same class. As his arms are bound, he protests to the Lord, saying he's integral to Mina's mission. An underling gives him a quick smack over the face, sending him to the ground. While Chisa continues to worry, Wesson wonders why there's a human there, and has him taken too. Hearing this, Hiro argues that he's just a teenager, wanting them to let him go. He's quickly shut up by a demon. The boy is bound as well, and only one man is left to continue his work. With this, the new captives lined up, following Wesson. On the way, the demon dog says they must not know his name, and finally introduces himself as Cammed. Hiro asks where they're going, but he's ignored as the man continues, saying his dead brother is Cam. Silenced by the reminder of what he did, they walked without uttering a word. After a while, the vengeful brother spoke again, saying he doesn't need to wait until the work is finished, and that he can pay for his sins right now. Back when they were kids, Hiro and Peach had a troublesome incident. Having spent a while crying, the girl asked her friend if he's really okay. Although covered in bruises and scratches, he gives a reassuring smile, saying he's chased them away. Blushing, she thanks him and gives a gesture of gratitude. Now she's in a demon's feeding prison. It's been 3 days since she arrived, and she has no idea how Hiro is doing. Just then, Raging, the guard demon, appeared by her cell. With him was Mina, who arrived with the human she abducted earlier. In a rush, she asks the guard about Biggie and where he's gone. The regal-looking demon greets her, saying it's been a long time since she's visited. As for her peer, he says he's gone to take some other demons out. Although displeased, she waves it off and tells him to call Peach over, in exchange for the human she brought. The girl hears this and starts to worry. Unfortunately, the guard apologizes and says he cannot comply, as his boss takes rules very seriously. If she wants to exchange someone, she has to submit a report and have it approved before operating. She insists it's just one person, and that he won't notice, but the underling fears his lord's intellect. Just then, Peach spoke out, calling to the demon general, asking if she's being sought out again. She's ignored at first, as sarcastically Mina asks for permission to speak. While it isn't allowed, Raging just asks that she keep it a secret. Finally, the two women meet, sharing a mutual acquaintanceship. Looking at the human, the demon says she'll get her out somehow, and return her to Hiro. The girl is shocked to hear this, and asks if it was a personal request. Asked about their relationship, Peach says they're lovers, and is surprised to hear that he and the demon are also meant to be lovers. Confused by her reaction, Mina questions how many lovers one human can have. When she's told that there can be only one, the general immediately tells the girl to give up, declaring that she'll be the sole lover. In disbelief of the abrupt command, Peach demands to see Hiro. Realizing that she might be a problem, Mina turns hostile in an instant. She raises her hand, ready to get rid of the threat, and make sure she never sees her boy again. Sensing danger, the girl tries to back away, but the general has already attacked. To her surprise, Raging has dared to stop her claws, politely asking her to stop. Growing annoyed, she says she wants to kill her, and asks if she can't even do that. With his hand trembling, struggling to keep her still, he says all captives are in the record books. He doesn't let go, obviously pushing back against her intentions. Looking at him straight in the eyes, she urges him to rethink his actions. Unfortunately, he's just a guard, who's meant to follow the orders of his master, and can do nothing else. Although still angry, the general is surprisingly understanding of his position and pulls her hand back. Instead, she tells him to have her turned into food sooner, so he promises to try and meet her request, as long as the others do not interfere with his master. She barely keeps it together, but sees the human she abducted wriggling to escape. Grabbing him by the head, she lifts the poor man up. She takes her frustration out on him and tears him apart, cursing Biggie. Having wasted a trip, she flies back feeling nothing but anger. Seeing Mina care about a human for the first time, Raging says the human might be useful. In another section of the lair, mushroom-like buildings stood tall. Wesson's group enters one of the buildings and disallows anyone from entering without permission. The humans are quickly chained up and are forced to watch while hanging from a wall. The demon lord tinkered with his experiment, which looked like veins converging into something important. Taking a closer look, Hiro soon realized that it looked eerily similar to a heart, held tenderly in the demon's hands. He opens his mouth in shock as he sees the organ still beating. Wondering if the heart was touched, Wesson calls to his assistant Heap, who looks like a human patched together. He says he wouldn't move the heart for anything, and the Lord agrees, saying it's a perfect sample. Cam calls to Hiro, saying the real demon dog is standing in front of them. Asking what's going to happen to them, the assistant teases that something interesting is about to happen. The human desperately protests, once more branding himself as a critical component of Mina's plans. Humoring him, the demon asks how so, wondering about his contributions. Hiro explains that they're learning about human reproduction, and asks if she knows he's there. Wesson finds them foolish and urges him to think about what'll happen if they fail. Humans and demons are unable to pair successfully, which is why his expertise is needed. Now ready, he calls to Heap and says it's time to start. Ordered to prepare Hiro for the procedure, he approaches the young man, saying it'll be great. As he starts to remove the robe, the human sees a chance and uses it to escape the binding on his hands. Slipping out of the robe, he ducks down and dashes toward the heart, grabbing a knife on the way. As he was too far, Wesson wasn't able to react in time, allowing Hero to take his heart hostage. Poking the precious organ with the knife, he orders them to keep their distance and do as he says, unless they want him to stick the weapon in and ruin their progress. Oddly confident, Heap goads him into doing it, if he has the guts. However, Wesson steps in, telling him not to be impulsive and asking what he wants. The human says he wants to be let go, along with his companion. Surprisingly, the demon allows it immediately, but asks how far they have to let him run, and if they need to let him reach the surface. Reality hits him as he acted impulsively and hadn't thought that far ahead. He curses the situation. Meanwhile, Wesson prompts him for a response, saying he's willing to let him go for the heart's safety. First off, he tells the demon to let the other humans go. However, the obvious lie's end has come to pass, and the Lord charges in to attack. Acting on instinct, Hero tosses the heart at the demon, making him choose between attacking him or saving the heart. Just then, Heap backs his master up, saying he's coming as well. Reassured by his assistant, Wesson dodges the heart and goes in for the attack. His hand pierces through the human's body, boring a hole right into his chest. With a fatal hit, the young man falls to the ground, no longer able to fight, and left on the brink of death. As he falls face flat, the Lord sees a pendant around his neck and realizes that he's coincidentally of the demon race. Just then, Heap calls to his master in a panic, looking down at a tragic scene. Wesson turns and, upon seeing what went wrong, calls to his assistant, reminding him how he was supposed to be there as backup. Apparently, there was a misunderstanding, as they both thought they were going to kill the human. Because of this, the heart is now on the ground, struggling to beat as no one stopped it from falling to the floor. Heap thought he was supposed to kill the boy, while his master caught the heart. Wanting to take responsibility, he volunteers to have the organ transplanted into his chest for now. Unfortunately, he isn't mature enough yet, and doing so would lead to him being devoured completely. Wesson orders the assistant to prepare things, as they will be putting it into Hero instead. Confused and feeling slightly wronged, the assistant asks for an explanation. Who everyone thought to be human was actually a demon, but one that's most similar to humans among them all. If a demon organ is transplanted into a human, the host will be consumed entirely, making it impossible to recover. It's the same case for Heap. Knowing it was originally meant for him, the assistant asks if the heart will be his eventually. The master says things will go as planned, and that it will be transplanted soon enough. Brought to a room, Peach panics as she hears a low and gurgling noise. Raging says there's no need to be afraid, as it's just the Lord snoring, and that she will be safe in the room. Having overheard her conversation with Mina, he shares that he fully understood the situation. Since she seems like she's going to be useful, he decides to keep her safe, at least for now. The guard orders her to stay in the house, promising to set the couple free if they do what he wants. Feeling skeptical but wanting to hope, she asks why he would do such a thing. Surprisingly, Raging says humans and demons are not all that different. Turning to go on his way, he tells her not to leave and where to find the daily supplies. Lastly, he tells her to sleep in the room by the wall, adding that there's another human there named Star. Wesson wipes his hands, finishing the procedure to save the heart. There are a few final touches left, but Hero lay on the bed, supposedly safe from death. Chisa and Cam looked at him, united in their fear for what may happen. The young man now has huge stitches on his chest, having received the demon heart. Feeling uneasy, Heap suggests binding him up, as he might suddenly regain consciousness. As he feared, Hero's eyes suddenly opened, but now with a devilish and powerful light. He propped himself up in an instant, removing the ventilator, while the assistant screamed for his master. Announcing that he's woken up, he reaches out to confine him, but the human jumps up to dodge. It already looks like it's going to be tough, but to make things worse, he spews a thick plume of green smoke. Hitting Heap's hand, the limbs suddenly turned to ice and broke. The trapped humans called to Hero, not knowing what was going on. Retaliating, Wesson appears above him, ready to attack. However, the awakened human turns around and strikes first to send him back. Just then, instead of trading blows, the demon extends his finger and injects it into the unruly man's neck. His mouth puffed up, as if about to release another puff of smoke. Hearing the commotion, a demon enters, wondering what was going on. He sees his master smacking the human around, but cannot understand the cause of the sudden fight. The demon is scolded for coming in and told to close the door as they aren't finished yet. Sent crashing into the wall, he sees Hero release the batch of gas he was holding in. Recognizing it, the guard panics and starts to be loud. His words die out as Wesson drives his fingers into his back, confirming his suspicions. Unfortunately, this information is not something he is allowed to know. With this, its body bloats and expands uncontrollably. While a bunch of demons talk about their new houses, satisfied with the work of human slaves, they look up and see Mina speeding through the air, cursing in anger. The first to get in her way was Lee, and now even Wesson has become a problem. Since they'd taken her things again and again, they shouldn't blame her for skipping the nicety. Going as fast as she can, she declares that her boy is hers alone. In the Demon Lord's lab, Hiro was knocked out cold, and the demon who unfortunately saw everything was squirming in pain, begging for relief. On the other hand, Heap was looking at his arm, now lost from the human's unexpected attack. His master tells him to pick a new arm out and attach it himself. When he's done, he's told to take the demon who came in and throw him into the nutrient furnace. He'll take care of the unconscious human, and they'll deal with the others, just as they always do. Chisa and the others panic, knowing what fate might befall them. The hut tries to close its entrance, and other guards scream, saying no one is allowed in. Not caring for them, Mina arrives, bulldozing through them, and breaking through the hut gates. Throwing them in, she quickly turns to Wesson and demands to know where her boy is. The two demons feign ignorance, even pretending not to know who she's talking about. Too furious to humor them, she warns them against toying with her. Her peer tells her to calm down, while his subjects apologize for failing to stop the general from entering. They're told to leave the hut, and that they will be dealt with later on. Turning to Mina, he asks if her boy is the one who died, and offers a better replacement. Incredulous, she lets her anger out, saying she'll kill them all if it's true. Confused and surprised by her reaction, Wesson asks if, like the humans, she's fallen in love. While still in her demonic form, the general is stunned by the sudden question, so much so that she reverts to her normal self and bashfully insists that they're just learning about her mission. Seeing his chance, the Lord says Hiro hurt himself while trying to save his friend, but he's treating him. Hearing that he needs to rest there for a month, Mina demands to see him right away. She's brought to a large pod in the middle of the room. There, the human lay inside, sleeping with several things attached to his body. Seeing his state, she tries to pick a fight again, but he assures her that he's fine. The attachments are necessary for his treatment, and he just needs some time to recuperate. Not caring for the things he's saying, she says she's still going to take him anyway. Reaching out to stop her, Heap returns with his new arm. Without sparing him a glance, she takes his arm off, saying demons should listen when the general is speaking. He screams in pain, saying he had just picked the hand out. While he rolled around the floor, wailing and suffering, the two demons stared each other down. Wesson has an intent gaze, seeming to calculate the possible outcomes of certain scenarios. On the other hand, Mina's eyes are challenging, as she's unwilling to let her boy go. Not expecting her to be so determined and invested, he doesn't insist, despite being skeptical, about placing the future of demons on the human shoulders. Before more snarky remarks could come, he tells her to be on her way. Wesson urges her to give up, as their problem will be solved by the time he finishes his research. He gives her the numbers and statistics, adding that she doesn't have the organs to reproduce like a human. However, Heap, who received a painkiller from his master, says she's already left long ago, and that he's been talking to no one. Back in their area of the cave, Mina calls to Hiro, telling him to wake up. Propping himself up, he calls her name, relieved that he's finally reunited with his master. However, he realizes that it hurts and panics as he sees the huge bandage across his chest. She explains how he was hurt, but reassuringly says that he's all okay now. Remembering how he was almost killed and the human screaming as he nearly died, he urgently asks where Chisa and the others are, but Mina says he was the only one there. Pushing it all aside, the general gets excited and says it's time to fall in love. The human looks pale, everything hurts, and his mind is an absolute mess right now. Given his condition, he tries to skip their session that day, but she fails to notice and passionately invites him to join. Gritting his teeth, he remembers Peach and the risk she's in. Feigning a smile, Hiro swallows his pain and gets going. Swite kneels down, greeting Lee as she's finally back from her mission. Although absolutely exhausted, she looks for Hiro right away and is told that Mina took him. Cautiously, her guard asks if it's necessary to rush when they already have more than enough dwellings. She says it is so, as the surplus of dwellings will make the Demon King question the lack of newborns more. Moving on to the human who was taken without her permission, she tells Swike to bring him back. He isn't really important, but her real goal is to stop Mina from finishing her mission smoothly. The day is about to end, and Hiro returns to their hut, plopping down on the thin mat out of exhaustion. Thankfully, the general seems to have mellowed out a lot, although he doesn't know why. He stops himself, reminding himself that they're emotionless monsters and that Peach was in trouble. Just then, he holds his chest, sweating, heaving, and still unwell. With his body obviously overtuned, he starts to question what exactly Wesson did to him. Just then, he feels something bottle up in his throat. As if sneezing, he launches the familiar green gas forward and completely passes out on the mat soon after. A demon is given a small surveillance worm, which will always face the marker injected into Hiro. For now, the demon is told to keep an eye on the human and record everything he does, making sure that Mina doesn't notice what they're doing. Trying the tracking system out, he plays around with the worm, spinning it around and laughing, as he sees the tail remain pointed in one direction. As it's the first time Wesson has placed a human under surveillance, the demon is determined. Crawling on the floor, he thinks about how the human and Mina are doing so many odd things. Another demon was by Hiro's hut, asleep and barely guarding it. On the other hand, Swipe is also nearby, following Lee's orders, but skeptical about capturing the human. Now, for both the underlings, all that could be done was to stay back and watch. They stayed there for a while, doing absolutely nothing but watching. Like the guard, they nearly doze off, absolutely bored by their surveillance task. Inside, the light shone on Hiro's body. He suddenly got up, screaming at non-existent demons to stop. Taking a deep breath, he collects himself and looks around. To his surprise, there's an actual pool of his sweat covering the floor. That said, he feels much better now, compared to how he was before sleeping. Normally, no body should be able to move freely, with such a huge, fresh scar on their chest. He falls to his knees, overwhelmed by the uncertainty of life and death ever since the demons invaded. Annoyed and frustrated, he stood up and walked to a corner of the room. With a loud scream, he punched the wall, wanting to abolish the evil in their lives. To his surprise, the wall burst open from his strike, leaving him stunned speechless. Now there was a huge hole in his room. Looking at his hands, he was filled with confusion, not knowing how he had such strength. Sharing his sentiments, Swipe suddenly appeared beside him, asking how he did it. He's surprised by the demon's sudden appearance, but doesn't get to talk as his arms are gripped. Saying they can talk about it later on, the two disappear, leaving the guard helplessly running after. Meanwhile, Wesson's demons panics, as he's lost his surveillance target all of a sudden. Swipe is carrying Hiro on his back while he runs. The situation just kicked in Hiro's mind. He tries to get away from the speed demon. This results in both of them stumbling to the ground. Swipe tells him not to struggle. The man asks him where he is taking him. Swipe explains that his Lord Lee just wants to see him. Hiro does not want to cooperate and grabs onto a huge rock pillar to resist. The speed demon asks nicely that he let go of the pillar. Swipe grabs him. He tries to pull him off the pillar, but Hiro resists. It only leads the demon to get shoved aside with his own pulling power. Swipe asks him again to come with him. Hiro insists that he needs to ask Mina's permission first before he can take him to Lee. Swipe explains that he can't do that since Lee and Mina don't like each other. It leads Hiro to tell him that he can't go with him. Swipe grabs him again. Hiro fights his pull, so the demon can't move him. It leads to Swipe being pulled back by his own force again. The demon feels troubled since he knows he will be punished if he comes back without him. Regardless, Hiro stands firm and is not letting go of the pillar. He insists that he come with him to know if the humans who completed their tasks for Lee got released. Still, the man demands that he talk to Mina before he can come with him. He lets go of the pillar and readies for battle. He is confident that if Swipe comes at him, he can hit him. Swipe can see he needs to use force and tells him that he should not have chosen this path. The speed demon disappears at great speed. Hiro tries to punch him as he comes. He misses as Swipe jumps into the air. The demon then kicks the man with both his powerful feet. Hiro gets pushed back until he hits the pillar wall. Swipe disappears again. Just before he knows it, Hiro is already in the demon's hands while he runs. The man punches his face to stop him. It leads the demon to go off balance again. Swipe falls while Hiro rolls away from him. Swipe calls him an idiot since he is only trying to help him. The man still insists he is not going. Swipe ups his speed, seemingly surrounding the man while encircling him. Hiro waits for his attack. Suddenly, the speed demon is already behind him and is about to kick him. Mina arrives out of nowhere to punch Swipe before he can do it. Hiro is shocked to see her. Mina tells Swipe that Lee can't have what is hers. The speed demon apologizes since he is only acting under orders. Mina counters that she will not hesitate to end him if she keeps angering her. Swipe is not afraid, believing he is too fast for her to do anything about it. Her response is to charge at him. The demoness hits nothing but the ground as Swipe disappears. He turns out to be already behind Hiro and grabs him. He then disappears alongside the man. This leads to Mina going into a rage. On the top of her lungs, she screams Swipe's name. Swipe travels through the caverns at lightning speed. As he arrives at Lee's territory, he throws Hiro like a rag doll. The man ends up crashing to the ground. He tries to find his bearings. He is nervous as he sees a foot in front of him. It turns out to be Lee, who is standing in front of him and asking Hiro where he went without her permission. The nervous man tells a lie that he went to find more servants for her, Lee's attention goes elsewhere. She sees that Mina has arrived. She tries to hit Lee with her great flying speed, but misses. Mina looks like a monster in her anger. Lee readies for it with a calm presence. Both lords try to strike each other. Their exchange is so fierce that the battlefield around them trembles and keeps exploding. The demons around them panic and want them to stop. Some of these demons get killed by their shockwaves. Swipe and Hero are grabbing each other out of panic. Mina's anger is not subsiding as she accuses her enemy of taking what is hers. Lee just teases her by saying that his man is hers to begin with, and she will kill him if she wants to. This only leads to the fight intensifying. A loud crashing noise enveloped their clash. Both women are shocked. It turns out that the demon named Fire came between them and stopped their strikes with his Chinese dragon tail. They ask him what he is doing and why he is back from his fight with humans in the south. Fire tells them that the Demon King has returned and that he is here because he was ordered to summon all of the demon generals for a meeting. Both Mina and Lee are shocked that their king is back. Meanwhile, the demon tasked with tracking Hero is quietly running away from the area. He is afraid that if the demon lords catch him, he is dead. Meanwhile, Hero is in deep thought. It gives him hope to hear that there are still humans fighting back in the south. Hero asks Swipe how the work is going on in Lee's territory. Swipe answers that things are going well, but is more concerned about how Hero is so strong now. Hero does not answer and just asks what happened to the people Wesson took. The speed demon answers that he does not know, but believes that they have been taken for research. Hero fears his research, considering that he is now so strong because of it. He feels like there is something demonic within him trying to burst out of him. Swipe asks again why he is so strong, but Hero sees Chisa and puts his attention on him. The blue-haired boy is happy to see him okay. They catch up. The happy reunion is disrupted as Hero wants to know what Wesson did yesterday. Chisa explains that the green demon pierced his heart. While the boy speaks, he does not know that there is a creature within him. This creature suddenly wakes up. Chisa then feels tremendous pain. Meanwhile, one of the humans Wedinka took yesterday also feels the same pain elsewhere. Back to Chisa. The pain enveloping him forces him to go to his knees. The boy is slowly transforming into a demon. He screams in agony. The pain continues as he grows bigger. His body becomes muscular with spiky exoskeletons protruding from his shoulders like armor. He comes out of the transformation, looking like an intimidating force. Chisa awakens as a muscular demon with spiky hair and even spikier shoulders. Hero asks what happened to him. Swipe suddenly comes in and jump kicks Chisa. The monster gets pushed back. The speed demon demands to know what Wesson did to him. Chisa merely gets back up and asks who Swipe is. Swipe charges towards him, while Hero begs for them to stop the fight. Chisa winds up his arms for an attack. He hits the ground with it, causing a shockwave. The trembling ground causes Swipe to be off balance while running. As he falls, Chisa's fist nears his face. He ends up being hit with monstrous force, the impact of which tosses him in meters. He ends up unconscious on the ground. Chisa looks at his hands, happy with his newfound strength. He feels like he can do anything and now wants to find Wand, the boy who kept bullying him before. He smiles as he screams for the bully's name. Hero asks him to calm down. Meanwhile, one of the kids Wesson experimented on also turned into a demon and is manhandling the demon that bullied him before. He punched the demon so hard that Hero needed to jump high to avoid the beaten demon being thrown towards him. Hero then falls back to the ground. He sees Chisa walking away, so he tries to call him back. The new demon beats up anyone who gets in his way. He leaves behind a trail of dozens of demons just to get to Wang. Wang is cornered by him, and he begs for forgiveness. Yet Chisa still winds up his fist to punch him. Hero gets in front of the boy and blocks the demon's punch. Wang then realizes that the demon in front of him is Chisa. Hero tries to calm Chisa, yet the former boy still thinks he should have his revenge. He pushes the man aside to get to his target. He tells Wang that it is time for him to be the bully in their relationship now. Despite the boy begging for his life, Chisa still happily readies a killing blow. Hero kicks the boy out of the way, and he blocks the monster's giant fist. Again, the man tries to reason with him and tells him he can help him get back to being human again. He reasons that while he is now a demon, he should not act like them. Chisa tells him he does not understand. He declares that he does not care that he became a demon. He explains that he was always being bullied when he was a human, and that he will now be the one with the power now as a demon. Hero is shocked by what he is hearing. Chisa justifies that he is merely following how the world works between the weak and the strong. He mocks Wang for running with all his might from him and threatens to kill him when he catches him. Hero tells him that he has no choice but to stop him. This leads Chisa to try to punch him, only for Hiro to dodge. The man, however, becomes open to his kick. The demon follows up with a backhand swing, only for the man to block again. Hiro puts distance between them. He reasons that what makes them humans different from the demons is that they are not violent. Chai counters that he does not want to be non-violent if it means it makes it easier to be enslaved. He also sees that Hiro has been transformed too. Now, Hiro has spikes growing out of his right eye, something that makes Chisa comment that he will become like him eventually. The very thought that he will become a violent monster someday makes Hiro uncomfortable. Chisa encourages Hiro to think about the power he will enjoy once he fully transforms. The man touches the spiky protrusion in his eye, looking more worried than excited. Chisa tells him that with his power, he will be able to rescue his lover at the food section. Hiro thinks about the time when he was on a date with Mina while they rode on a demonic horse, and he asked about Peach. Mina told him that she was fine, but that it would take some time until she could get to her. Back in the present, Hiro demands to know from Chisa if he is sure about Peach's location. Chisa tells him that the information is a reward for being so nice to him. Hiro tells him that he can come with him to Mina so they can be able to return him to human form. Chisa refuses, not wanting to return. He insists he can do more in his new form. As the former boy walks away, he asks that the man forget about him and go after Peach. Hiro feels shocked. Chisa looks back at his friend for the last time. Then he walks away again. Hiro looks on, unable to stop his friend from walking. As Chisa walks, all he can think of is how powerful he has become. His smile and attention are all for his revenge on Wang. Others who have been experimented on are also fighting the demons that have abused them before. He proclaims that the order of things is for the strong to trample upon the weak. Meanwhile, Hiro goes to Swipe. He tries to wake him up. He demands that the speed demon take him to the food section and tell him everything he knows about what is going on there. He puts a sharp stone on his throat, yet the demon is still too groggy to answer. Hiro is getting angry, and he demands again for him to take him to the food section. Elsewhere, a cave with a demonic skull head with a fire at its head is seen. Within its halls, Mina and Lee are arguing. Lee complains that Mina killed one of his men. Mina retorts that he deserved it. This leads Lee to proclaim that she will kill Hiro. As they argue, Wesson is on his chair, experimenting on a small demon, and is not minding the arguing women. Fire interrupts the argument. He announces that the Demon King has arrived. The Demon King enters and tells the two to stop fighting. He is revealed to be a devil-like figure with stone-like armor, for a body that lights up in heat like a volcano and a head of fire as if it were his crown. Meanwhile, the demon spy who was tracking Hiro is still running away from the chaos of multiple demons fighting each other. Raging eliminated one of the demon-human hybrids. It is revealed that he has eliminated many of them with little effort. He sees something is coming. He sees that it is Hiro who has dragged Swipe's body with him. The speed demon quickly clings to Raging to escape Hiro. The man is still demanding to know where Peach is. Swipe tells Raging who the man is and that both Lee and Mina are fighting over him. Raging realizes that he is Peach's lover. Swipe also reports that there are so many mutated humans because Wesson recently experimented on a group of humans. The speed demon asks that Rage fight him for him. He says that the mutated humans are everywhere. Rage wonders what Wesson is up to and sees an opportunity from it. He grabs Swipe's shoulder with great force. The speed demon feels his intention. Rage pulls him up. His power is so strong that the speed demon gets raised at a quick speed. Rage raises him to the highest point he can. He then readies to push him to the ground. Swipe pleads with him to not do it, yet his face gets shoved to the floor, breaking the rocky ground. Swipe no longer loves. Raging tells his dead body that this is the moment he will become a demon general. With a smile, he reveals his mischievous ambition. He then calls the startled Hiro. He then tells him he can take him to Peach. Hiro is walking down Peach's prison cell looking for her. She sees him and is shocked. They have a passionate embrace as lovers. Peach sees that there is something firing over his right eye and tells her there is nothing to worry about. The girl tells him about how Mina came to see her. Hiro is shocked to hear from her that Mina tried to kill her. Raging explains to them that Mina is jealous of their relationship and tried to kill Peach to have the man all to herself. Hiro thinks about the situation and does not know if he is happy or sad about it. Raging explains that with his relationship with Mina, they can team up and make sure Peach returns home. Hiro is suspicious of his offer, but is tempted. The demon explains that he can trust him since he hid Peach when Mina ordered him to kill her. Hiro thinks deeply about it. Raging continues that he will tell Mina that Peach has already turned into food. This way, he says, both Mina and Lee won't have any advantage against him. Hiro thinks about whether he can trust him and asks what he needs him to do. Raging wants him to help him reach the position of demon general. He elaborates that all demons were born from the mother of all demons, but that reproduction of demons has been reduced recently. It is the demon's biggest crisis that the four generals have been exploring. He admires Hiro for being smart. He sees that he has been manipulating Mina to be dependent on him, and that he did a great job. Peach asks Hiro how his chest wound is feeling. The man says that it does not hurt anymore, as if his healing rate is abnormally quick. He asks Raging what will happen to the humans experimented on by his Lord Wesson. Raging can tell that he is being respectful by calling Wesson Lord, but explains that he does not care if he even calls Wesson a monster. However, he says he does not know what will happen to the humans since he is a mere demon guard, with no inside information on the general's knowledge and motivations. He also wonders what he is up to and promises to look into it. Raging remembers something important and calls on a demon named Kine. Kine comes down wondering what he wants. Raging orders him to check if Wesson has injected Hiro with a device called an eternal staring worm. Kine approaches Hiro and wraps his head with his tentacles for a face. He confirms that the man has it, making Hiro realize that he is being tracked by Wesson. Raging asks that he calm down since the eternal staring worm can only detect where he is and it has a short range. Raging tells Kine to find the one who is tracking the man. Hiro also worries that Mina will get suspicious of him and that he needs to get back in her territory as soon as possible. Raging encourages him to be strong. However, Hiro worries that he needs to explain how Spike died. Raging explains that his death can be explained by the rampaging mutant humans. Hiro laughs at this. Raging puts focus on the discussion of becoming one of the four demon generals and how they need to kill one of them to get the position. He also explains that the strongest of all the four is secretly trying to overthrow the Demon King and is feared by most demons. Many believe that killing him would be a great loss for the demons. He is known as Biggie, the Lord of the Food Section, and a giant who dwarfs many other demons. Back in the meeting of the generals, the Demon King can tell that Biggie is unable to listen. He tells the giant that food is not a discussion of their current meeting. Lee reports to the Demon King that she has made great progress in the construction of Demon Shelter. The Demon King praises her, but that their meeting now is about the mother of demon. He reports that the mother has birthed 2 newborns recently thanks to his brother Wesson's new drug. Wesson tells him that this is just a temporary measure and that they still need to find other ways to reproduce. Mina asks the Demon King how his mother is. The Demon King is sad to report that alongside her sickness, she is also depressed. Mina believes it must be because of the drug and insists that she stop taking it. Wesson tells her that the demon mother would be withering away regardless if he did anything. The Demon King asks her to calm down and still insists that they need the drug because reproduction is the most important. Fire interrupts the meeting to report that something is happening outside. He also says it is Wesson's doing. The Demon King is wary. He asks his brother what he did. Meanwhile, Hiro is still thinking over if he can trust Raging. Suddenly, a human woman walks down the cell. Surprisingly, the woman also knows who Hiro is. Hiro asks the lady how she knows his name, and she replies that Peach has told her all about him. Peach introduces her as Sleeper and says that they share a cell. Hiro is shocked as he has heard of her as a famous grandmaster of martial arts. He has heard that she was second in a martial arts competition a few years ago, with her grandfather being in first place. Sleeper reports that his grandfather died in the war facing the demon. Raging feels sorry for her loss, as he has heard about his grandfather too. Hiro wants to ask if she wants revenge but is too afraid to. Raging can tell what he wants to ask. Sleeper says that the death of her grandfather is something she accepted a long time ago. Her answer shocks the man. Raging reports that Sleeper was locked in the food section until she escaped, but that she did not want to return to the surface, so he kept her in this cell to hide her. She justifies that living on the surface means always watching out for demons, and so she settled in hiding instead. Right now, her only concern is to fall asleep. Upstairs, Kine calls for Raging. Raging goes upstairs, where Kine reports he has moved Swipe's body. The tentacled demon also feels worried that Hiro is different from the other mutated humans. Back downstairs, Hiro sees that Peach still has the necklace he gave her. He remembers when he gave it to her when they were still children. Elsewhere at the general's meeting, Chisa is being overwhelmed by a fire-based attack. He is no match for it and falls to the ground. Lee and the Demon King question what is happening with the humans. Wesson tells them that it was he who modified their bodies and that he had not foreseen how they would be consumed by violent tendencies. Chisa, in his weakened state, says it is okay that he did not get to kill Lee and the generals since he is already satisfied with killing Wang and Swipe. Lee gets angered at the mention of Swipe's murder, yet Chisa merely laughs as if to mock her. Lee's rage grows and she starts to move her sharply tipped tail towards the dying former boy. Wesson blocks her way, saying that he still needs to examine the mutant. Lee cannot accept this and reports to the Demon King that the mutant killed Swipe. Wesson explains to the king that mutating humans is his way to solve the reproduction problem. The Demon King questions this since humans are but a lowly race. Wesson, on the other hand, justifies his doings since they need any method possible. Lee does not care and charges Chisa to kill him. The Demon King summons his hell flame. He blocked Lee's scorpion tail to stop her. The king tells her that she can't since the mutant is important for their species, making Lee feel frustrated. Elsewhere, Raging reports to Hero that Big South is back since the meeting with the generals ended early. Hero is so confused by Raging's assistance that he meets Biggie. Raging assures him that it will be fine. He gives the man new clothes to make him look presentable and to cover up his stitchings. He says he got it from a previous human. As they walk, Hero asks him if each general has only one demon guard, and Raging says yes. The man asks why he wants to be a demon general, but also on equal footing with his men. He sees this as a contradiction. Raging replies that those who do are the only ones fit to be a demon general. Hero can tell from his ambitions and drive for power that demons are no different from humans. He thinks about Biggie and how killing him would weaken the demon. He promises himself that he will do it. He feels nervous as he comes closer to his target. He finally meets Biggie and sees that he is huge. The giant calls Raging's name. He suddenly goes into a tantrum, complaining about how he needs to go through a meeting. Hero is shocked to see that the infamous Biggie is like a child. He wonders what Raging is planning. With the meeting over, Mina flew as fast as she could, rushing to reach her mother's side. Carbon exited the hut, greeting her brightly, as they hadn't seen each other in a while. However, she instantly scolds him for not stopping Wesson from experimenting on her mother. Not even giving him a chance, she mercilessly smacks her former guard, sending him flying. As she entered the hut, he lay in pain, asking how a meager guard like him would stop a general's wishes. Quickly making her way to her mother, Mina asks if she's okay. Greeted gently, the daughter says she doesn't want her to keep reproducing if it puts her life at risk. She goes on to complain, arguing that Sister Shui would never allow it to happen if she were a general. Her mother brings up the topic of her idea about reproducing like humans. If she can just make it work, Wesson won't need to inject her with all sorts of chemicals. As she promises to do an experiment, right after she leaves, Carbon watches from above. Still displeased with her methods, his face is solemn, but the demon remains silent. Meanwhile, Raging introduces Hero to Biggie, saying he's there to find his human companion. Asked if they found who they were looking for, the guard lies, saying they were too late, as the human was already turned into food. Hearing his master blabber, the demon understands and promises to appease Mina some other way. As the meeting must have been tiring, the general is sent away to sleep and get stronger. They watched as the supposedly stronger demon walked away. After a while, Hero speaks, bringing up how Biggie speaks like a stupid child. As he said, the master is naive and childish and became a general purely because of his body's strength. Considering this, it is not difficult to think that his naivety is just a disguise, allowing a rumor to be born. The human asks for their exact plan. Mina alone didn't care for the rumor, as she only ever cared about her mother, but things have changed. Since she values Hero as well, they'll essentially tell Biggie that he'll grow stronger if he eats him. This makes the human react in disbelief, but Raging asks that he let him finish explaining. They'll also say that doing that will anger Mina and have him give up on the idea. This way, Mina will become hostile towards him, allowing for a better implementation of their original plan. There's no need to worry, as his master is timid and will faithfully believe in everything he says. After all, he supported him when he initially opposed becoming a general, and did all the work in his stead. There's no contradiction between Raging's description and the reality, but he's still skeptical. It's no question that Mina will be hostile if anything were to happen to him. That said, will he have a role to play after the event? And will she be able to protect him? The plan is to tell her of Biggie's intention, and everything will progress when he actually breaks in to try. Hero asks about what happens after, and what he's supposed to do next. While it will depend on what happens after, Raging says he might be able to send him to the surface. He then shares that he just sent Peach up, just to confirm that he's telling the truth. As if on cue, she calls to him, hugging her lover tight, and confirming the guard's words. There are many humans left, hiding in the shallow holes in the ground, after being released by Raging. Saying he has no ill will towards humans, he says trust is built step by step, especially among different races. In a few days, they can achieve their goals without a problem. Hero tells Peach to go back up without him, promising to catch up soon enough. She protests and says he must come with her as well. Since it isn't that simple, he places his hands on her shoulders, asking her to wait with a reassuring smile. Trusting her lover, she looks at him with tearful eyes, telling him to come back safely. The two kiss, vowing to meet again. Meanwhile, Wesson's demon runs around with the surveillance worm, exhausted and wondering why Hero is in the food area. Just then, someone pierces his chest, and he falls to the ground, lifeless, as the killer picks up the worm. Fire speaks to the Demon King, reporting the number of casualties from the incident. Lamenting, Flame wonders if it's better to be like a demon from the old days. The demon says he shouldn't ask him as he's the king after all. Left alone, the ruler stays silent for a while and summons a wisp of flames in his hand. Sending it forward, it blazes at the wall. With a serious face, he calls on Shui. The figure of a woman appears in the fire, and he asks if she did something wrong. Raging tells Hiro that he'll have to attempt reproduction with Mina eventually. He's willing to try if necessary, and when that time comes, he at least knows that Peach will at least be safe. The demon warns that while he can delay it by a long time, it's better to verify as soon as possible. Seeing the young man's confusion, he reminds him that, in the end, humans and demons are different races. With this, he reveals that Mina, who's so intent on reproduction, does not have the human organs for it. In his study, Wesson found that demons more or less have a similar physicality, called humanization value. With the exception of Biggie, the more human-like a body they have, the stronger a demon is. Questioning why Mina would even try in this case, they say she likely does not know. She's been in charge of the breeding area and has not experienced human encounters much. As his plans start to fall apart, the human freezes. Later on, Hiro visits Mina's dwelling, where he meets a new demon named Velvet. Greeting with a stern face, she says she knows about him and that he shouldn't go too far. As he's never met her before, he's quite confused about the hostility. She stops him from approaching, reminding him that he's just a lowly human, despite being loved by the general. Knowing how to deal with her, he asks if she despised Mina. While he walked forward, she called the general her idol. Flustered by his advance, to her surprise, he slams his hand against the wall, saying she doesn't believe in her idol's vision and questions her decision of choosing him. Fighting back, she tries to strike with her wings, but he catches it perfectly and grips tight. Turning her arm towards her, he raises his voice, asking how dare she try to hurt the general's man. He stares at her right in the eye and, sending chills down her spine, asks if she wants to die. Velvet is absolutely scared and nearly scampers away when he releases her, told to show the human some respect. Finally, Mina arrives, calling to them, and the demon runs away in fear of the encounter. Although confused, the general turns her attention to Hiro and asks about the horn on his head in surprise. Explaining how Wesson is at fault, he says it's similar to the mutants from yesterday. She turns pale and asks if he's actually turned into a demon. Not sure himself, he instead asks about the fate of the people who turned into mutant. Troubled, she doesn't answer, wondering if it's still even possible to reproduce. Not willing to accept it, she shakes her head, saying it's for the best to have faith in the plan. Determined to do what she wants, Mina pounces at him, saying they should try breeding right away. He backs away, trying to make her stop and wait for a second, but she's completely intent. Unwilling to wait, she states that she wants to reproduce like a human being, and that she wants to try right now. Despite reasoning that they have to be in love, she shakes him around, claiming to be overflowing with love. Just then, their moment is interrupted as Velvet rushes in, announcing that Biggie was there. Annoyed by the unexpected guest, she tries to turn him away, saying she's busy. However, the strongest demon came barging in, breaking right through the wall. The guard screams in surprise, shocked by the violent entry. Some time before, Raging spoke to his master, asking how the mutated humans were. When considering the change in his body, the general agrees that the new ones are much better than before. The guard then encourages him to eat Hiro, saying he's the most special one and would give a lot of strength. He's hesitant, feeling bad for the human, as his partner had already been turned to food. With a stern voice, Raging questions his will to become stronger. He repeats his question when Biggie tries to reason. He's eventually convinced and declares his determination to be the strongest. To help him out, the guard hands over the surveillance worm, saying it's already marked his target. As a last warning, Raging instructs the demon general to disengage if even Mina gets angry. He excitedly nods, having full faith and trust in his guard. Driven by the desire to get stronger, Biggie barged into Mina's dwelling, destroying the walls and demanding that Hiro allow himself to be eaten. Biggie's huge hand breaks the floor, trying to take and eat Hiro by force. Mina jumps in for the save, pushing the demon's hand down. Enraged, she tells him to repeat what he said about eating her man. Surprised to see his peer there, the general slowly backed away in confusion. He remembers Raging's words, instructing him to give up, in case Mina gets mad at him. Without questioning it, he stepped back from her dwelling, turning around to walk away, and ignoring the owner of the house he just wrecked. He makes the demon angrier. Cursing him, she lets her demonic energy out, and soon brims with power. Uncaringly leaving the place he just invaded, Biggie remembers his guard, who gave him the goal of eating the special human. As it's a great opportunity to get stronger, he can only hope that the other general doesn't fight for a human. On the other hand, Hiro also recalls his conversation with Raging, whom he asked about Mina's power. Apparently, the black part of her body, covering most of her arms, can make powerful impacts. Depending on the range, it can have different effects, like a chopping attack, for example. Biggie tried to leave without starting a bigger fight, but it was too late, as Mina was fully committed to retaliation against the invader. As he's already been hit, the desire to eat Hiro has returned, so he runs back to the house, demanding to be fed. Looking for the human, he smacks the entire place open, nearly destroying the cave. Indignant as her home is being destroyed, Mina's expression gets even darker. She flies behind him and orders the demon to get out of there immediately. Surprisingly, Biggie drops from the impact and falls to crush the house. Looking at her master's wrecked home, Velvet flew to safety. Carried by her wings was Hiro, who was stunned by Mina's ability to knock the huge demon down. That said, he can't believe that the supposedly strongest demon would be beaten so easily. Suddenly, Biggie gets up, seemingly unharmed, and shouts that he's running away. Now, knowing why the other general is angry. Seeing his reaction, Mina brands him as a crazy demon, confirming for herself that the rumors are true. As she wants to figure out what happened, she asks Hiro why the general wants to eat him, saying he doesn't know. He then points to the floor, saying there's something there. Lying in the rubble was the surveillance worm, dropped by the intruder. She picks it up, and immediately recognizes the tool. What's more, it becomes clear that it's pointed at Hiro. It takes her no time to understand that Wesson is the culprit behind all this. Wasting no time, she takes his hand, saying they have to get to the bottom of things. As she flies as fast as possible, they quickly arrive at the researcher's dwelling, where she demands an explanation. Told that he doesn't know what she's talking about, she shows the worm, annoyed by his lies. Quickly recognizing the tool, his expression turns grim, and he questions where it came from. Explaining that Biggie used it to find Hiro, saying something about eating him, she again asks what he did. Wesson tries to calm her down, saying it was just an experiment, and that there's no need to be alarmed. Looking at the human, he sees something odd and comes closer. Stomping toward him, he demands to know how he grew horns on his head. Confused and feeling played, he says he did this to him when he was in his lab the last time. With a pressing expression, he asks if the necklace that had a family crest was not his after all. Receiving a dismissive answer, Wesson grabs him by the neck and questions if he's a demon or not. Lifting Hiro by the neck, Wesson asks again if the family crest he carries around is his. As he manages to receive his answer, his hand gets swatted away by Mina. She quickly runs to check on him, while the researcher worries about the fate of their artificial heart. Thinking about it for a while, he hopes for another way, since his heart has just been healed for a short time. Suddenly, they order all lesser demons to leave right away. Left alone, Mina demands to know just what exactly was going on. To her surprise, her peer calls her over to a private area, saying he'll explain where no one can hear. She tries to protest, but is told that it involves the demon race, as well as their great mother. Upon hearing this, her anger subsides and she calls to Hiro, telling him to wait there. The two disappear and the human confirms that Mina's mother really is the most important to her. Considering the situation, he wonders if the changes in his body are somehow connected to the mother. While he thinks about it, already so confused, two demons suddenly emerge from pods in the room. Based on their human qualities, they're obvious mutants who fell to Wesson's experiments. Baring their teeth at Hiro, they charged in, ready to attack unprovoked. Meanwhile, Wesson explains that he injected the human with a new drug and injected the worm to track him. The same drug was injected into their mother, and from Hiro's state, he realized that it's very effective. She argues, saying she just saw her so weak, but that's because he wasn't sure about the dosage before. What makes him even more sure are the changes that have taken place in the young man's body. Either way, the demon mother, although uncertain about her reproduction, will have no problem surviving. Having worried about her all this time, Mina tears up, relieved by the wonderful news he's brought. Outside, Hiro was still fighting the mutants, dodging but trying not to counter yet. For now, he calls out, asking if humanity is still inside them, and calling on them to wake up. However, their rage and demonization have completely taken over, making them senseless. He tries again, begging them to let him know that they're still alive. The two charged in again, mindlessly attacking and even hitting each other as he jumped away at the right moment. Starting to struggle, he realizes he can't keep doing this, even if they can still be saved. He can't care too much anymore, so he tears one of them apart, barely exerting any effort. As the other is angered, seeing its companion beaten, it raises its hand to attack. However, Hiro just laughs in amusement, telling them to bring it on. To his surprise, their fight is cut short, as the demon's body is suddenly split in half. As it fell to the floor, a familiar voice praised him, saying he's doing great. It's Heap, who challenges him to a fight, as they've both transformed into stronger beings. Determined to defeat him, the assistant charged in with his new bladed hand. Unfortunately, the new hand doesn't even touch, as it flies to the sky, cleanly cut off. As he falls to the ground, Hiro checks his body, not understanding why he's unarmed. As Heap's arm falls beside him, the perpetrator, Mina, appears after her discussion, confirming that he's okay and saying they're leaving. Asked for an explanation, she says she'll tell him all about it on the way. Later on, Heap raises his voice in surprise, told that Hiro is not a demon, but a normal human after all. In this case, the heart will swallow him up, and it is currently impossible to remove. To get it out, they can wait until it completely devours the human, but until then, they have to ensure his survival. He calls to someone named Gogo, who creeps out from under the floor. The master says the surveillance form was taken by Biggie, whose men also attacked him. Piecing things together, the small demon shares that those who attacked in the food area were also his men. As Hiro's survival is essential for their mission, the demon is told to follow him once more and ensure his safety. Concerned and curious, Heap asks why the strongest demon is so interested in the human. Recalling Biggie's words, even Wesson can't answer, and thinks about his intentions in frustration. Meanwhile, Flame tells Fire to gather demons with heat-related abilities as they're raiding a snow area again. Not wanting to deal with the cold, the guard asks to be excluded from the mission. The king says he doesn't intend to bring him anyway, instead wanting Mina to keep her away from the human. As for the lowly human tainting her, there shouldn't even be a need to ask, as Fire is ordered to kill him. Ordering Fire to kill Hiro, he tells him to leave it to Lee, as she seems to dislike humans well enough. He clenches his fist in disbelief at the thought of a human, aiming to be something more than a slave. Meanwhile, Mina explains to her companion how her mother's condition is gradually worsening. Hiro starts to say something, but is told to listen for now. She asked about human reproduction, wanting to end the mother's trouble. Now Wesson, despite not caring about how she feels, has developed a drug to save her. The demon opens up, sharing how she's the only one who cares for her mother like this. Understanding her confusion, Hiro says that while she doesn't understand, love is what she's feeling. Smiling, she's reassured that she's doing things the right way and will save the mother from further stress. With their efforts, she can blossom, just like their love. Driven by the sentimental moment, the two hold hands and look each other in the eye. As they came close, about to kiss each other, a voice called to Mina, asking what she was doing. Fire appeared out of nowhere, saying she must have been about to eat the human. As she tells him to leave right away, the general is told that the king is urgently looking for her. Annoyed but unable to deny her ruler's request, she calls on Hiro to follow. However, the visitor stops them, reminding her how much Flame despises the human race. She argues, trying to convince him that the young man is far from the typical lowly human. Saying he's no longer a general, Fire doesn't want to hear it and tells her to argue with the king instead. Noting his position, she tries to poke fun at him, but he's unaffected, not caring about such titles, and again telling her to answer Flame's call. Seeming to trust him, she leaves Hiro in his hands, promising to continue later. They watch as she flies away, and as soon as the two are left alone, Fire commends and praises him, saying he's competent enough to fool a general. To the human's surprise, he's thrown to the ground, and he notices that it's been happening all too often. In an unfamiliar place, he sees several other humans and wonders if it's an area where shelters are built. The other humans recognize him and quickly start to smile and cheer, calling him their savior for getting them a road to freedom. Soon enough, their happiness is replaced with questions about the state of things. He's unable to answer anything as a familiar man calls to Hiro. It's Camd, who's surprised that he isn't dead and has somehow lost an arm. On the other hand, the young man asks how he hasn't turned into a demon unlike Chisa. Hearing this makes him regretful, as he advises the boy to take the injection out of his arm. Intrigued, Hiro urgently asks about the substance in their arms, but the man refuses to tell the murderer. The lackey agrees, saying he should have died back in the lab anyway. Unfortunately for him, Hiro has no time for games, so he grabs the annoying loudmouth by the neck. Giving a deadly stare to Camd, he says he doesn't want to ask again. Panicking, he says they were injected with all kinds of drugs and found a little worm buried inside. As the young man asks what happened to him, everyone suddenly begins running away, with fearful looks on their faces. Confused, Hiro belatedly realizes that Lee was right behind him, ready to deal her punishment. He turns around, attempting to somehow retaliate, but is met with the general's enigmatic and hypnotizing gaze. Meanwhile, Raging was training, delighted that things were going according to plan, and now just has to unfold. Deep inside, he feels his ability blooming. Hiro wakes up from his trance and finds himself in an unfamiliar place, having no idea what he was doing. Noticing that he's finally woken up, the other humans call for Hiro. Considering the amount of humans, he gets hopeful and wonders if he's back to the surface. A familiar man approached, saying it's been 3 days since he got there, and that he woke up the fastest. That said, he isn't in some fantasy retreat house, as they're still in the demon's lair. Representing everyone there, he welcomes Hiro to Lee's private property, the underground Earth.